Hello, everybody. How are you tonight? I just want to say good evening. It's Tuesday night, time for our online town hall. I am very excited to talk to you tonight. I do not have a guest speaker this evening, which is just okay. We've been having a lot of guest speakers, but I wanted to just come and talk to you a little bit tonight about some things that have come up. And our topic for tonight is why not just shoot them all? The flawed logic of the day. Before we get into that, what I want to talk about, I am going to just, as usual, invite you to visit my website, cynthiasarmientohd30.com. I know that I talk about this almost weekly, but excuse me. As the primary approaches, we are getting closer and closer to that time where we need to start to take clear action toward bringing back our state. And so June is primary month for us here in our Adams County District 30. This will be the time to vote for the candidate that will be on that ballot in November to run against and defeat the incumbent Democratic candidate that's she's finishing her second term. So I just want to say that this primary is very important, and I want to specifically ask for your support there in order to get to my goal, in order to continue to put in this work and do what it's going to take to turn this district around and take back this district in the fall. I do need your support and help. So please, on my website, again, cynthiasarmientohd30.com, there's a spot there to donate. And I just want to tonight ask everybody to take the challenge of clicking that button. It only has to be a few dollars for it to make a difference. And every penny counts toward helping me meet my goal, and ultimately helping me meet my goal is going to support the people in the district and the state of Colorado and get us going in the right direction. So also, I'm going to be having a couple big walking events where I'm out in the community, and I have a few people who've signed up to volunteer through the website, and I would like to thank them very much. And of course, my family who's been helping me as well. And so we're going to be looking at those dates. So if you are on the website, also please drop your name into the form there and come out and join us. It's actually a lot of fun to be out in the community talking, walking. We get a group of us together to do that. We can certainly make an interesting and fun day of it, and I would appreciate your help. So that's always the first order of business. Get a sip of water. The second thing I want to briefly talk about, there's a lot of events coming up. So please watch all of the events. Adams County Republican Committee is putting things out. On the 13th of June, the Adams County Republican men are having a barbecue. Other candidates are having a lot of kickoffs where multiple candidates will be there. You'll have an opportunity to meet people, ask questions, get to know your candidates. So please watch for those events. I'll make sure I'm posting them, but follow them through your social media and that type of thing. If you have questions about that Adams County Republican Men's Group, please contact the Adams County Republican Committee. They can steer you in the right direction and get you the information on that as well. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into this topic now that I wanted to talk to you about tonight. And, you know, I picked this, this title because I feel like there's been so much going on lately, and I'm just bombarded constantly with what I have come to the conclusion as a flawed logic. So when I first began this campaign, there were people who advised me that during campaigning time was not a good time to normally address issues that are, I don't know, national in their spectrum, or really outside of what's going on in the district, or things that are within the realm of my control. And so oftentimes that also seems to include highly publicized issues that are going on in our community, in politics, etc. So, of course, what do we have right now that's being, highly publicized, right? First, we've been dealing with COVID for quite a while, and that's been a subject that has brought about a lot of contradictory philosophies and theories, arguments, concerns, and a number of other different things. We are still in the midst of dealing with ramifications of that. And right on the tail of that, we now have this issue that is going on with the death of George Floyd and all of the following events to that. So, when I was told to address with constituents things that were very near and dear to them, of course, the original, sort of the outlying idea there, right, is highly publicized, controversial issues that are on a national level and that type of thing are typically not appropriate during a preliminary candidacy early on, that type of thing, because it seems to take focus away from other things. Here's the thing, though. Change has to occur at the ground level, at the most basic levels of any group. And so to not talk about national issues as being owned by our local community, in other words, to act like they're owned at some level beyond our community, is only contributing to the issues, to the problem. It's only contributing to a bad end result. And so, you have to address issues at the ground up. That's one of the reasons I'm constantly talking about collaboration and listening to constituents and really finding out what people are thinking, what they want, what they're doing, what's going on in the community. It's one of the reasons why I'm choosing some of the people that I've been choosing as guest speakers, right? These are not necessarily people who are other big politicians or big names or people you're going to see in the headlines, right? You can read in the headlines about all those people. I want to hear from people who every day are making it work in our community. And so for me, this issue with the death of George Floyd and the rioting that has gone on has to be owned at the most basic level, right? In industry, in the private sector, and in businesses, if you look at the business model of those businesses which are most successful, right? And how do we measure success in business? Part of it's the bottom line. And how do you obtain the best bottom line? By retaining good employees over a long period of time, by making changes that are effective and improving things, working at the most efficient way possible, okay? And so if we were to mimic that successful way of conducting business in a government structure, right? Those people who are in positions of leadership, which I always say, I really don't like that word. I believe that people who are in seats like representatives and senators, although they are leading, right, because they are taking the helm of something by election, they truly should be servants to the community. And that's really how I look at it. So you have to be a servant leader. And servant leadership is, again, in business and industry, is a concept that has proven over and over to be successful. And so what I really want to say is that I would like to see servant leadership in our government if we really want to find success. Now, do we have that now? No, not so much. We certainly have a problem. Am I going to be elected in November and then fix all of this overnight and somehow everything is going to change? No. I don't profess that that's ever going to be the case. But I do think that the more that we, as a people, can begin to elect and have people in office who are servant leaders, who understand the concept and the necessity to gain support of change, to gain support of policy, and to create policy and change that are in line with the masses and lead through service. The more that we do that, the better off we will be. And it's one step at a time toward that. There are a number of different ways to change government. This is my way, right? This is my way of doing this. Some people say, well, one way is, right, to start a revolution. Some people say that they just ignore things and go about their life and try not to let it impact them. There's all different spectrums across the board. So that's why I'm talking about this issue tonight. So here's the thing that I wanted to talk about with this. I have been reading things in social media, in the news. I've been listening to people talk about this issue, whether it be people in the community or where I work or when I go out. And I hear all these different perspectives about what happened and why it happened and what should be happening to the looters and what is the president saying about what should be happening to them and what are governors doing. And oh my gosh, right? You just bombarded every second of the day. But what really prompted me to discuss this with you tonight was something I saw on social media, and it said, we should have a make my day law for businesses when it comes to looters and rioters. Okay. And I really, really thought about that long and hard. See, the make my day law has a lot of things that it's predicated on that make it make sense. Number one being that when you are in your private home, that you should have some greater expectation of personal safety than anywhere else. And that if someone is entering that dwelling, given the personal nature of that dwelling, and you are in that dwelling, that there's a greater assumption that you are being threatened. Okay, that you or your family, whoever's in the house, is being threatened. The notion of Make My Day is to protect yourself and your family from persons who might want to harm you. And again, it's predicated on that notion that there's a greater risk of you being harmed when someone has gone to the lengths. In other words, when a person has made the choice to commit a crime that involves entering your personal dwelling and potentially doing whatever it takes to get what they want in there, harming you, taking you hostage, whatever it might be, that you have a right to protect yourself and that lethal force could be used in that situation. Now, the legal ramifications of that, there are all different kinds of different things that you have to look at, and every case is different. But that's really right. That's the spirit in which that law is there. And the folks that I hear saying, we need to make my day law for businesses, and I hear people saying, I think that if looters come into your business, you should be able to shoot them and all kinds of stuff. And, that type of comment to me is so concerning for a number of different reasons. I want to preface this by saying, number one, I completely support and believe in gun rights. Okay. The right to bear arms in this country is one that we must continue to protect, and it is there for a reason. And it was not initially put into place, right, for street fights or other things in there. The right to bear arms is to protect the citizens of this country from a tyrannical government. At least that's the spirit in which that was initially put into place. And I want to preface this by saying I support that. Number two, I want to preface this by saying that I believe that the officers that killed George Floyd should be punished to the fullest extent of the law, and that the system and the systemic problems that contributed to that atrocity need to be addressed forthwith. Okay. And I'm very specifically using the word atrocity there, not tragedy, right? Tragedy can come from things that are beyond our control, from natural disasters and a number of things. Okay. What happened was an atrocity. There's a wickedness not only in the person that committed the act, but in the system that failed. Okay. That is beyond just simple tragedy. And thirdly, I want to say that I believe that protest in this country is at the foundation of this country. And there are a number of different ways people can choose to protest. And even when people choose to protest in a way that I don't necessarily agree with on a personal level, I still support their right to protest, so long as they are not harming other people or committing crimes. Clearly, we have protesters that have been out protesting, not hurting other people and not committing crimes, but we have a sanction of people now that are out, that are damaging property, hurting people. They are committing crimes, and they should be punished for their crimes. Okay? I would not, and I will not say that two wrongs don't make a right or anything like that, because I think that comparing the behavior of these people who are out creating all this damage and destroying property to what happened to George Floyd is that you can't compare those two things. Okay, I don't think that that's an accurate comparison. I just want to say that individually, okay, I believe that the people that are responsible for those acts need to be prosecuted. When I hear people say, I think we need to make my day law, or I'm going to shoot people if they come into my business, that's where the flawed logic is, right? Because many of those people would probably also say that the officers need to be prosecuted. Many of them would probably also say that we need to allow the system, the wheels of the criminal justice system, to turn, and for that prosecution to take place, and for them to be punished accordingly in the criminal justice system. If that is the case, then there is no logic anywhere that would justify that we shoot looters. Okay? Unless, of course, they are armed or causing physical harm to someone or threatening the life of someone, right? In which circumstance, of course, force, according to the law, force can be met with equal force, correct? So that is not withstanding that they are harming a human being. But to simply shoot someone on site who potentially is not armed with a lethal weapon, who is not physically attacking or harming another human being because they are damaging property or stealing, defies the logic that we're using to allow the criminal justice system to handle this issue with these police officers. So if the people who want justice for Floyd's death, whether it be his family, and I don't think that they want this type of justice where there's this rioting and stuff, or other people who are enraged by this act or whatever it is, if they are going to wait for the wheels of the criminal justice system to take care of this, then certainly everybody else will have to wait for the wheels of the criminal justice system to turn and prosecute looters as they are caught and apprehended. Okay? Otherwise, if you take the logic that you can take excessive force against people who are damaging property, then you might as well say, okay, whoever is angry at Floyd's killers, just go kill them. Let's line those police officers up and let someone shoot them. So let's just shoot them all, right? Why not? Why not shoot everybody? Shoot the looters, shoot the cops, shoot everybody. Not a good answer, right? That is not a good answer. First of all, it's not a good logic. It's flawed. You cannot have one system waiting for the criminal justice system to act, and in the other circumstance, citizens becoming, judge, jury, and executioner. You can't have that logic. I'm sorry. The other thing that I have seen a lot is people talking about the issues of race. Nobody wants to talk about race, right? Because you're so afraid of what's going to be said or how someone might misinterpret things or whatever it might be. But to continue to not talk about something is certainly not going to resolve it. So the issue of race, I also see a lot of people saying, well, you might see this as a race issue that a white police officer killed a black man. I don't see it as a race issue. I see it as a corruption issue, a corruption with the police, or I see just that a corrupt police officer or evil person killed another person. And again, people are arguing about this. Like, people are actually arguing about how this should be perceived and what the perception should be and who should determine who's going to protest and who's not. And let me just tell you something. Both things are true, okay? A white officer killed a black man, and a corrupt officer killed a man that didn't deserve it. Both realities are true. And a good majority of the reason of why you might see that differently could be your very own race, okay? I could never, ever, ever say that I could truly empathize with what it is like to be black. That is an impossibility. And anybody who's not black who says that is lying. I'm sorry, you are. Just the same way I could say that my husband would never truly be able to empathize with or understand what it's like to be a woman. Our perspective, our reality is embedded in our experiences. It is embedded in our own perspective. You cannot escape the world, go outside and look inside and find truth with a capital T. Here's truth. This is empirically the truth. We can confirm it. That is impossible. Truth is subjective to a person's experiences. Does it make me racist that I would never know what it is like to be a black person? No. Does it make me prejudiced? Does it make me wrong? No, it doesn't. It makes me a human being who has a limitation to my own perspective, just like every other person does. We are simply limited to our perspectives. So for those people whose perspective is that the rioting and the looting that is going on is a horrible atrocity committed by people who are misguided, they are stuck in their perspective. For people who believe that that's a justified means to an end, they are stuck in their perspective. But in the long run, the flawed logic is to take two contradictory perspectives and try to make them mesh. Okay? If you want to shoot rioters and looters on sight for what they're doing, then by gosh, you also have to condone going out and shooting those police officers, or really anybody else who's committed some kind of crime that you think is worth punishing them by death. Okay? If you're going to abandon the law in one area, then you certainly have to abandon it in another. If you're going to uphold it in one area, you have to uphold it in another. All of these things come down to one thing. To me, this all comes down to the human condition. The human condition. And that human condition is not going to change. We are animals. We have basic instincts that our intellect is constantly fighting against. Okay. We have the same types of animalistic instincts as some other animals, only we have an advanced sense of intellect, we have an advanced sense of morality, and things like that. And so those things are always going to create an inner conflict within human beings. So if you say to me, I don't want to be around anybody who has any kind of biases or thoughts, or I don't want to be around people that don't think different than me, then get off this planet. That's your only choice, because you can't be a human being and not have biases. I'm not talking about racism, okay? I'm not talking about even necessarily prejudice or hatred. I'm saying biases. Biases about anything. It could be a number of different things. You can't be a human being. You want to be a robot? Fine. But you're not going to succeed at that as a human being. And when we talk about the political arena and things like what happened, we must look at what is the response and how are the people who we have elected to represent us, representing us to resolve these issues. And unfortunately, we are far too often at a stalemate. We're in a position where our elected officials are not taking long-term or committed action toward changing the things that need to be changed in order to resolve some of these issues. They are not bringing our communities together, but we can do that. And I just wanted to talk about that because I feel like it's almost impossible to separate right now, excuse me, these social issues, things like COVID, things like police brutality, things, any of these social issues. You cannot separate them from our politics. And our politicians and elected officials cannot separate them from their duty. They must be there. And like I said, I am not one to jump into something that I feel like is just for hype. It's not my purpose in talking about it. I really genuinely want to look at how I, as a candidate, and hopefully as an elected official, can bring about and help create an environment and create the type of change that's lasting by using a model that has always worked in other situations, and that's service leadership, servant leadership. So with that, with that said, I think that we need to look at how we make our choices and how we move forward in this political arena right now. This is a critical time, and looking at people who can step into elected positions who can use some common sense and sort through a number of different ways of looking at things from both sides, who can remain calm and approach a topic in a pragmatic way, in a systematic way, address things, and move forward with that. It's going to be very important as we continue to move forward that we as people start to look at our elected officials, our leaders, and expect from them to be able to go into situations and stop making knee-jerk reactions or stop utilizing only an emotional appeal, but looking at things logically and systematically in order to help create change. And that's what I want to do. That is truly what I want to do. As a previous college professor, having worked in psychology with our criminal justice system for years, this is the type of thing that I've done over and over for years. Not only done it, but taught it and how to go in and do that. This is where my specialty lies. This is where I thrive. And in just the last few weeks and seeing what's been going on, it has come so much to my realization that I needed to talk about this and the importance of this to me and to everybody, and how we address it and how we select people who are going to move us forward in this country in a way that we so desperately need. We so desperately need. And we need it at every level. So it's not enough to just say, well, this is something to be handled at a bigger level, at the federal level, et cetera. We have to, at the smallest level, at the base, gain momentum and bring together the foundation. And that's where I want to take us. And I sure would love it if anybody has any comments, questions, things like that. I haven't seen anything pop up yet, but I sure hope they do. And even if you have something after this has archived, send me a message, send me an email. I want to hear from you. I want to hear from hear from you on this topic. If you disagree with me, I want to hear from you. I don't post because I want to tell you what to think and I want you to agree with me. I want to hear what you have to say about this. I hope that it's just a brief reality check at looking at our logic, right? And how we're approaching things, looking at things from someone else's perspective. It is not easy. It is not easy in any way. And everything right now is so politically charged. With everything that's been going on for the last 4 months, it just seems almost impossible to get away from that. But we can move forward. We really can. Well, enough on that topic. I really want to say thank you to everybody who joined me tonight or tuned in, or even if you're not here tonight, but you get to watch this later, want to say thank you to you for checking out my information on my Facebook page. I'm on LinkedIn, and this will be up on YouTube as well. So everywhere you go, hopefully you'll be able to find some information. If you have questions for me about my platform or my intentions, please don't hesitate to contact me. I'm more than happy to hear from you. And again, the last thing I'd like to say is please check out that website, CynthiaSarmientoHD30.com. Click that donate button. It only has to be a couple dollars. Just as much as you might spend on a cup of coffee can even make a difference. So we really appreciate your support. And I will look forward to seeing you as I'm out walking. I've been in neighborhoods. I've had the good fortune to run into some wonderful folks, get a chance to talk and chat, and just talk about how we can move forward to make our community better. I'm also looking forward to attending these events, and hopefully I can get to see you out there as soon as I can find public places that'll allow us to do some gatherings, libraries and stuff a little bit more frequently or with more ease. I'll be doing that as well. And just take your time and look at the information and reach out. Thank you so much.